RAZA IFL TV in association with MTK Global. With me all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada, my man, former world champion, Mr. Showtime, Shawn Porter. Champ,
Yeah,
been a minute.
Yeah, actually it has been since I've seen you talk to you.
How are things? How's the family?
As good as it can be right now, my man. We're doing all right. Mostly in the house, if not in the backyard. And the good thing about what I do is you can take your work home. So my workouts have all been, long distance runs. And then my dad lives just right down the street from me. So he's got to hook up at his house now that I need to be getting over at a little bit more. But for the most part, man, everything is slow motion.
Before we even talk about boxing and talk about fighting and what's next for you, it's a crazy world at the moment. I'm not sure what the situation is like in Vegas. In the UK, it's approaching 7,500 deaths now. We're one of the worst countries in Europe. They say America is going to be one of the worst countries out of everybody at this stage. And I've seen a lot of videos at the moment of funerals and digging up graves, mass graves, but
oh, wow.
Scary times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, scary times, and fortunate enough for me, and definitely my wife and I, we pray for the whole world. We don't just pray for America. We definitely just don't pray for Las Vegas, but Las Vegas seems to be one of the few cities out there that, we are right now still managing. As far as I know, we have right around 70 deaths, give or take. But for the most part, everyone here is just kind of, for the most part, following that protocol of staying home, only going out for essentials. But for the most part, the scare hasn't really, I don't think, has really touched Las Vegas the way that it's touched a lot of other major cities and countries in the world, which, again, is a blessing. But even within that blessing, we're praying that other cities and countries are more like, Las Vegas in terms of being able to handle what's going on, and and definitely the death rate starts to minimize extremely soon.
Are people listening to instructions out there? In the UK, a couple of weeks ago, we had the people were running to the supermarkets, taking everything off the shelves. Toilet paper is like gold dust here at the moment. But people have got scared and overreacted. Do you think they've taken it in a different way?
I think that when the scare first really hit and happened, I think people were scared to go out, and I think that through the scare of going out, once the governors and the president started to say, just stay home, only go out if you have to go out. That means food. That means taking care of a relative from a distance. But other than that, stay in. I think everyone in that phase was scared to go out. I think because of that phase and that moment of people being afraid to be out, I think the quarantine mattered. And I think after some time of just being in, probably boredom, probably not used to just being at home all day, things like that, I think people started to kind of, because you're at home and you're safe, you start to say everything's okay, let me go back out, So I think this is what's going to happen to the world. I think the world's going to be on a little bit of a roller coaster ride, There's going to be that scare and that panic. Then you're going to kind of come out of it, and something's going to happen. You're kind of going to go back in it. And I think that once we get the consistency of everyone staying home and the consistency of these doctors and everyone who's trying to help, the scientists really figuring out what's going on and how to handle the situation and how to really control it, I think it's going to be a roller coaster ride.
As what about from a fighting perspective? Now we know fighters are used to going kind of in lockdown anyway when you go into camp, right? But is it hard? Last time you fought was Errol, I think that's September last year. So you were probably getting ready to hopefully fight around February, March. So from a mental perspective, has it been hard for you?
For me, it was actually it was. I had a conversation with Wade, and I said, man, I think I may have even gone into a little bit of a depression. And he says, yeah, I can see that. And when I had that conversation with him, I think it was maybe around the end of January going into February. And the way that we had kind of constructed the year was we wanted to fight in March and then hopefully fight again closer near the end of the year, September, give or take. And once we ended January going into February, you see nothing's happening at all. It was like, when's it gonna take off? When's it gonna happen? When is someone gonna step up and say they want to fight me? And obviously that wasn't happening going into March, and then this took over. So I think now the whole battle is, how do you stay focused and understanding that once this is over, you have to be prepared. So that more so is the battle that I'm facing now, is trying to handle and juggle my family life and my home life with being here with them, and also separate from them and do what I have to do from a training standpoint, and get on my early runs and my workouts with my dad, so on and so forth, and really try to kind of bring it all together, opposed to just saying, well, we're in lockdown, so I'm not going anywhere. And when you're not going anywhere, all you're doing is watching TV and taking care of your son and eating. And, you know, that's not the right thing for a professional athlete. So
This question might not, well, I'll refer it to you as well, but fighters don't get paid if they don't fight.
yeah.
Simple, right? So
Yeah.
how hard is it from that perspective as well? Not just the mental side, but financial side of that.
I thank God I am out of that wilderness of fight check to fight check. I don't live, and I haven't lived fight check to fight check for a very long time. So I thank God for that. But my heart hurts for all of those fighters. For me, it's the fighters who are 5-0 or 10-0, because I know what it feels like to be right there, 5 or 10-0. You're literally living paycheck to paycheck. Each fight is making it is how you are able to pay your rent. Some of us, even just to put gas in our car and food on our table, is literally fight to fight. You know, you don't even say check to check. We say fight to fight, you know. So I'm glad I'm out of that, but my heart hurts for those guys who have not made it to this point of being world champion, or being even close to going for a world champion. You know, those are the guys who are gonna go into some depression. Those are the guys who are going to struggle to really feed themselves and really feed their families. And you know, my heart hurts for those guys. But even for myself, you know, I'm trying to figure out ways to establish some form of income while we're in this recession.
In the UK, there's been talk about if the world can't resume, potentially fights will happen behind closed doors and in studios with no crowds and stuff like that. Could you imagine yourself in that environment? You've gone from these Las Vegas big fights to, you know, and across the states, you know, Thurman's, the Brooks.
And even the fights that I didn't fight in, but I still went to and was a part of, you know, those fights are always fun, because you hear what people are saying outside of the ring, and you hear how people are reacting outside of the ring opposed to being in the ring. You don't get that perspective. So I have even enjoyed the perspective of being on the outside with other professional athletes, other fighters, other, you know, entertainers, being able to really mingle with those guys and talk about the fight that we're watching, you know. So I can't really imagine myself being in the ring without a crowd, man. I think it would be really, really strange.
What are in your mind now? You must think, okay, if the sport resumes in June or July and August, this is what I want to do. Because the reality is all fighters have had a good rest, and all fighters will probably be ready to go. So
yeah,
really, you should be able to get the fights you want. And I think a lot of fighters would probably want those big fights straight away, because that's where the money is. But ideally, in your head, you have like a vision and a plan on, this is my opponents, A, B, C.
I really am trying to kind of fill it out, and I'm sure as the time approaches, God will direct me. It's really hard to say. There's no telling what's going to happen right off of the bat, you know? No one wants to fight in front of anyone, but we all want to make money, you know? So the networks are probably going to have to direct us in terms of how we're going to make these fights happen. And then our advisors, our managers, and some of us who have promoters are going to have to advise us and tell us, you know, how to make this whole thing happen. But the way I look at it, this is the opportunity for boxing. Right now, everyone wants new content. So whoever's the first to put it out without rushing will have the advantage. Boxing even has the advantage that we don't have a season. We're essentially year round. So whereas the NFL has to plan around this quarantine and establishing a training camp for the players, and even with the draft coming here pretty soon. I don't know how much you know about the NFL being over there in England. I chose the wrong sport. Let's go with the NBA. I mean, even the NBA, they're probably gonna have to reset and go through a little bit of an exhibition before they do a playoff, and then go into the championships and all that kind of stuff. Boxing, it seems like, would kind of have to do the same. It seems like kind of have to have kind of a tune-up into the big thing, the big fights, So, and then again, the best part of it is, as long as the fighters are ready to go, we can make the fights happen, So, I think if the money's there and the fighters are willing, this could be an opportunity for boxing.
Are there any particular names you say that, whether they're on the roster of PBC or somewhere else, but these are who I want? Because you're known to be a boogeyman for some people. A lot of people have avoided you. Your name doesn't get called a lot, I must say.
And it's funny you say boogeyman, because I watched a couple of fights after I fought Errol Spence, and it seemed like everyone after the fight wanted to name a lot of the big names in the welterweight division, and I know I'm not invisible, so I'm like, why is my name not being said? And I kind of took pride in it. I'm like, all right, now these guys, I must be the Candyman, because nobody wants to say my name. You know what happens when you say the Candyman's name? So I kind of feel that way right now. I feel like, if there is an avoided fighter in boxing, it is Shawn Porter. And I think the reason is because these fighters know that one way or another, you're in for the fight of your life. Fighters, there may be a fighter out there that knows he may feel that he can beat me, but he also knows that even in beating me, he's not going to be able to go to the club after that fight. He's going to be going to the hospital, and if he's not going to the hospital, he's going back to his hotel room to go to bed. It's just going to be a long night when you get in the ring with me. So, in one way, I understand those fighters not saying my name, but at the same time, I think the world should be about greatness. I think, every fighter from the time he starts to the time he ends is trying to get to greatness. And I think right now I'm one of those fighters that you have to beat, that you have to fight to be a part of greatness.
Would you be content if you hang your gloves? I know we'll talk about all of the punditry stuff that you're starting to do with PBC and Fox as well, but would you be satisfied if you call it a day tomorrow?
I think I would have to convince myself in order for me to be satisfied. So I do know that there's more out there for me for boxing. I've been told that by God, to be honest with you. And outside of that, I just know that if I retire now, if I hang them up now, I know at some point I'm gonna think and I'm gonna reflect, and I'm gonna have to convince myself that I made the right decision. Because when I think and reflect on who I could be fighting and how much money I could be making, and who I could be fighting again or fighting in front of, and where I could be fighting at, and so on and so forth, and all the different things that come along with the fight and the promotion, I know right now I still will miss it a ton, and I know I'm not done yet.
Shawn, most of the welterweights are with PBC and Al. You've got a couple here in the UK that are up and coming. We've obviously had in the past Amir Khan, Kell Brook, the most notable from the UK.
Yeah.
On the other side, in the States, as they say, on the other side of the road, you've got Bud, Terence, Crawford, who's been trying to get those fights with the PBC fighters. Are you hoping that from the Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder show that we saw, where two networks came together, that we can hopefully get Crawford mixing in with yourselves and the rest of the fighters?
I was there firsthand, man. I saw it. It was beautiful. And let's not kid ourselves. Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder did a fantastic job themselves, from the whole promotion to the way the fight, started and ended. So I do think that there's big fights to be made when you, quote unquote, cross the road, particularly in the welterweight division. Even after that fight, I thought to myself, okay, who could do this again? Exactly what those guys did. Who could do this again? And I said, well, me and Bud could do this. I don't know if Bud could do that with another fighter and it be the same type of event. But I do know myself and Bud could do it. And we haven't had any conversations in some time. but you know, that's still a fight that could be made out there. You know, I know that for me personally, it's a fight that I never saw myself having, and now here recently in the last probably 2 years with him moving up to the welterweight division and things like that, I thought to myself, wow, I could fight this dude. And so, you know, I don't think it's a secret anymore that we've had a conversation probably that 2 or 3 years ago where we said, hey, you know, we'll get together and we'll talk and see whether or not we want to make this thing happen. So that conversation hasn't happened yet, but you know, after this quarantine and this recession, something big has to happen. It has to happen for sports. It has to happen for boxing. It has to happen for business, and the list goes on. And you know, so we'll see if Terence and I we get together, we talk, we figure out if we want to make it happen. If not, Shawn Porter is definitely gonna have to make something big happen with someone else.
John, let me get your opinion. Again, during the Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury fight week, we saw yourself, Andre Ward, and Lennox on the top table talking to the media. And a point Dre made about how fighters don't want to go through the pretty boy Floyd way and just jump and want to become Money Mayweather.
Yeah.
Is that a problem now? Are we seeing problem fighters?
It's a problem, I think. And you know, if we talk specifically about Floyd, I think Floyd has come so far from being pretty boy that I think maybe he's even forgotten some of the things that he's done. And I think that he's coined himself and marketed himself as Money Mayweather for so long that I think he's kind of showed everyone, this is who I am and this is who you could be or should be. And I think guys forgot about pretty boy and they just think that they can be Money Mayweather with ease. And there's fire you got to go through. You know what I mean? There's bills that have to be paid, and there's dues that have to be done. You know, and so I think that's been a part of the lost art of boxing, so to speak, where you know guys aren't willing to take those chances and those quote unquote risks and those opportunities because they're afraid that one opportunity will cost them an opportunity in the future. But I think it's a poor way of thinking. I actually was just watching Floyd Mayweather Sr. versus Sugar Ray Leonard. Floyd Mayweather, I believe, was 15-1 or 14-1, and I think Sugar Ray at the time was 11-0. I think, you know, think about that, man. They were 11. They hadn't even had 20 odd number fights, and they were fighting each other, you know. So I think guys are thinking, well, once I get a belt, once I get 20-0, once I get 30-0, that's when I'll fight that guy. Get that out of your mind. Go up against who you got to go up against, and make the best of it, with the understanding that if you look great, people are going to want to see greatness. Mm-hmm. If you look great and you lose, then people saw something great that night. You didn't lose anything, you know. So go ahead and do it again. You know, I think that's kind of what happened with myself and Errol Spence.
I don't know if you saw Floyd's post yesterday. He said he put a picture up of himself on the mitts with his nephew, and he said he learned a lot from his uncle Roger, who recently passed away. Mm-hmm. And he goes, basically, in my words, he said that he has now got the urge to train fighters, mm-hmm. and not all great fighters are great trainers, and not all great trainers are great fighters. Sure. But I will become a great trainer.
And you know what? I believe that, and I agree with him, because think about it like this, and I'm pulling from my dad. I've learned from a great coach. I've learned a lot of good, and I've learned some bad from my dad, you know. So my dad, in my personal opinion, being a great coach, I think that if I hang up the gloves right now, I think a lot of people would consider me to be a quote unquote great fighter. And I think that if I moved into coaching, I could be a great coach simply because I've learned from another great coach. I've heard a great coach, and I've walked behind and in front of a great coach. And so I think the same for Floyd. If he takes the great things that his uncle showed him and he applies them to who he is as a once was fighter, or one of the greatest fighters ever, literally, to being one of the coaches, I think he will turn into a great coach probably immediately, just given the fact that he's learned from another great coach.
I know you've been involved in now commentating on fights and doing kind of the production side of it as well. Is that the angle you might want to go into after fight, or is coaching something you might look at?
I love it, man. I'm missing my Fox studio so much, man. We have so much fun out there, and I actually did a post yesterday. Someone sent me a picture of the cast of us sitting up there, and we were, enjoying the laugh. And I thought back to that moment that we were having, and I'm like, dang, I missed that, man. So I can't wait to get back to the studio. I love TV and I love radio. So both of those are 100% in my future. I could see myself coaching. I've always said that I didn't want to coach, but I could see myself coaching, and actually even beyond being just a boxing coach, I like to get into life coaching. I think that I've had a lot of experiences that I could give to other fighters, other athletes, to help them on and through their journeys and their careers. So even if I'm not a direct boxing coach going up there in the ring and doing my thing, I'm definitely going to get into psychology and life coaching. I think I have a lot to offer athletes and business-minded people out there.
Talk about that. It's quite interesting because obviously Deontay Wilder took that first loss of his professional career, and whatever happened in the corner, coaches disagreed whether the towel should have been thrown in or not, and that's not my question. Like, what advice would you give someone like Deontay, who has to now come over adversity of that loss?
I've texted D just one time since the fight, and I hadn't heard back from him. And I think he might have been just maybe a week or two from the fight. So I know he was probably still taking time from his phone and things of that nature. If D was with me right now and we wanted to talk about his loss and things like that, I would tell him, be patient. I mean, I think this quarantine has forced everyone to be patient, but I think there's a difference in just being patient, waiting on this quarantine to end, but also being patient and meditating and figuring out the best move, the right move, and how to go about your business in and out of the ring. So I would tell him, be patient. Be patient trying to fix all of the wrongs that you may have made, whether that was in pre-camp, in camp, and during the fight, maybe even after the fight. Be patient in trying to figure out all of the answers. And be patient coming back into the ring. Be patient with your adjustments. Be patient with the fans out there. These fans are brutal. They're gonna talk about you like the fight just happened yesterday. You know it didn't happen just yesterday. So be patient with these fans, because it's gonna take you some time to win these fans back over. You're gonna have to convince these fans that you are who we all think, well, some of us think you are, and who some of those have doubted you in the past. It's going to take some time. So he's got to be patient with the whole process. It's going to be a healing process for him if it hasn't begun. I'm sure it should have already begun, but if it hasn't, even that healing process, there's got to be some patience that's going to come with that, because I can tell you firsthand, you'll think you're over that loss. Oh my God. You go to the gym and start hitting the bag, and you start seeing just flashes of the fights. You start seeing flashes of everything you did wrong, and flashes of when you got hit, all that. And then now you're hitting the bag like this because you're just so depressed and upset. And it's going to take some time for you to get back to hitting the bag the way you're supposed to hit it, with the understanding that don't matter. I'm coming back and I'm coming stronger, So it's going to take some time. The number one thing I would tell him is just be patient.
Would you, with that, you say the demons kind of come back when you go into the gym, but do you think he should go straight back into the rematch?
Yeah, you know what? I've said that he should go straight back into the rematch. Obviously, that's before this quarantine happened. Now he has time. Now he has time to get prepared for Tyson Fury, or he's got time to take on another fight. The reason why prior to this quarantine I said fight Tyson Fury immediately is because I know the way boxing works. If you don't take the fight with Tyson Fury, people are going to write you off. People are going to say, first of all, they're going to say he was scared to take the rematch. Then they're going to say, he didn't have what it took. He didn't have the skills. He was going to get beat again, so on and so forth. Boxing will completely write you off. They'll find the next guy who can contend with Tyson Fury. And then they'll start writing about all that. and leave him in the background. And I didn't want him to fall into the background. I don't think he's a fighter that deserves to be in the background. I really don't think he's a fighter that you can put in the background, but that's the way the business of boxing works. The business of boxing works with who's going to make me the most money. That's who I'm going to promote. So if Tyson wasn't going to, excuse me, if Deontay wasn't going to fight Tyson immediately, they were going to say, who else can we make money with, and promote all of that and leave him in the background. I didn't want that to happen. And I do think that he can make some adjustments and come back and make that a great three-peat and possibly even win it and end up fighting Tyson Fury a fourth time, you know. So I think even with now this quarantine works to his advantage. He has more time to get some wrongs right, make some more adjustments, and be prepared, better prepared for the rematch.
I've noticed you've got the Pacman machine in the background. Is that keeping you engaged?
As much as I can. My son, who you don't hear in the background, he's asleep right now. I hope I'm not waking him up. He's 2 years old, and he's what keeps me busy most of the time. But this thing's got like 1,500 games on it. It's got Sega. It's got Sega CD. I never even played Sega CD, but so I try a lot of those games over there now. A Nintendo, Super Nintendo. It's got a Neo Geo on there. I've never even heard of that. It's got Game Boy on there, Game Boy Advance, Color Game Boy. You know, it's a repeat of a lot of the games, but it's still pretty cool for me. I'm so old school that I can dig this and not be. I can't play Call of Duty. I've never even tried to play the other games out there that are really popular, but this right here is my speed, so I stick with this when I can.
Shawn, just finally, got any pieces of advice for boxing fans, the public, just generally society, who may have lost loved ones or who may have loved ones that are not well, but what would your final words be?
Man, wow. My heart goes out to everyone out there right now. And I promise you, daily, my wife and I, one way or another, whether it's her or it's me, we're praying every day for this world. We're praying that someone gets the answer, that someone figures out how to not only contain this and control it, but to basically get rid of it. You know, we're praying that God delivers that answer to someone or someone's that can help us get back on the track that we want to be on. And my heart goes out to anyone out there who's lost someone through this. Stay prayed up, man. Stay positive. It's very hard to stay positive through hard situations, but find something that's gonna make you smile. Find something that's gonna make you feel good, even in the losses that you have, because God has given you another day. He's given you another day to live, and I firmly believe that God doesn't give us another day to wallow in what's wrong, but He gives us another day to figure out how to make what was wrong right. So and I'm sorry if I sound uncaring about when I use the word wallow, but I don't mean it in that sense. I just mean, try to deal with it the best way you can, with the understanding that you have a future, and things will get better. Some things get harder before they get easier, but eventually they do get easier as long as you're doing the right things. So stay in, only go out when it's necessary, cover yourselves up, still be kind, be caring to others, put a smile on your face when you can. That's all I do when I go out, is I just try to have a smile on my face and pour out some goodness to others. And just cover yourself up, and this will end. And when it ends, be prepared, because we all have life to live, and as long as God has given us another day, we have another chance to make something good, make something right, and take advantage of that. God bless you guys, and I promise you all, I love you guys, and I'm praying for you all.
Champ, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Always be generous with me, my man. A lot of love
here, man.
And definitely,
nice to see you smiling too, man. It's cool, man. Through everything that's going on.
I'm happy I got you here, man. I'm happy.
Yeah. You hit my heart right now, man. It's so hard. I don't know what the whole count is of everyone that's passed, but there's so many families that have been affected now, and I hurt for that, because people close to me know that it's almost like I care about other people more than I care about myself. It's like I've said this before. As long as my family's good, I'm good. And I put my family before me. I put my friends before me. So, my heart does really hurt for those who have lost loved ones, who are sick themselves. And I'm praying that this world turns around very, very quickly.
Shawn, wish you and your family nothing but health and safety.
Thank you, my man.
My man will definitely catch up very, very soon.
We'll do this again, man. I'll talk to you later.
Shawn Porter 5 on TV. Thank you very much.
Take care.